or defensive. Number 7, playing different people in the same matchup could be like transposing a piece of music into a different key. Any high-level jazz musician would tell you that being able to transpose a piece of music is very, very important. A lot of times, if you're with a professional group of jazz musicians, they're gonna say, let's do Autumn Leaves in A, right? And then you're just going or whatever, right? And you would be expected to keep up with that. And it's very similar to how like maybe playing a piece of music would be like playing a matchup, right? You have a certain game plan you're going to go for, blah, 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 blah. But different people are going to force you to play the matchup in a slightly different way. And I thought that there was some amount of similarity here. Maybe I'm reaching slightly on this one, but I thought it was interesting because I actually do think that transposing is a very important part of being a jazz musician. And I think that being able to kind of change the way you end up playing a matchup is also very important in Melee, sort of responding to your opponent, right? Number 8, a sense of rhythm is very important in both. Something that was very hammered into me both in high school and in college from different teachers was that like your solo, the notes that you hit within a solo could be not so great, right? But if you have a good sense of rhythm, you can in general just like get away with it. We actually did an exercise in high school where we had to pick 2 notes that were within the scale that we were playing in. We had to pick 2 notes and we had to make a solo out of just those 2 notes, which was kind of fun for me. But rhythm in Melee, very obviously important, right? You have to time things correctly, otherwise it's not going to end up working for you. Even if it's shield pressure, whether or not it's a combo, an edge guard, or whatever, that rhythm is very, very important. Number 9 here might be sort of reaching, but I think it was kind of cool to bring up. Being nervous when performing each can cause mistakes, but occasionally you can lean into those mistakes and make some beautiful moments. I think that if you just, any Melee player, right, even like a lower mid-level player, I'm sure you've had tons of moments where like you mess up, but it turns into this like offstage scramble, you manage to win the scramble, and you end up killing your opponent in a way that you never would have, right? Very similar to how in music or in jazz more specifically, let's say that you're soloing and you accidentally play a wrong note. Now something again that was kind of, hammered in for me was that you can actually lean into that wrong note. You can say, I didn't play a wrong note. I actually want to add a little bit of dissonance to this solo. I want to just like make this friction within the music. Isn't it a little uncomfortable? Let's lean into that discomfort, which is kind of cool. And you can actually create some moments that, like, if you were just obeying the laws of the scale, you would never be able to come up with moments like that, which I thought was kind of a cool comparison. Again, maybe a little reaching. And then number 10 here, there's a give and take with your opponent where you're almost communicating via the game, similar to how you communicate with your bandmates. This is probably, again, maybe the second most popular thing that I hear when people describe similarities between Melee and Jazz, because the first being improv just being a very important part of those two things. The communicating via the game, right? Like you're almost talking. Mango has described before that like he could know nothing about you, but after you guys sit down, maybe play for a couple hours, he makes fun of you a little bit, you guys laugh a little, you learn a lot about each other just by playing the game, seeing how you choose to play the game, what character you play, how you choose to play it, similar to how you respond to how your bandmates are playing. A lot of times when somebody's soloing, you have the background music, right? Keeping the chords going, you have the drums generally pretty softly going, but let's say that your soloist comes up with kind of a rhythm they're hammering in, that can be supported by the background musicians in the moment, which is kind of cool. So you're almost communicating with your bandmates and taking the song somewhere where otherwise might not have gone. So, man, I was able to list 10 different things that I think maybe a couple of these were pretty reaching. I was able to list 10 different things on how Melee is really similar to Jazz, which might be kind of surprising to some of you, seeing as I thought that these two things were different and that I didn't think these two things were very similar at all. But for anybody that's been looking incredibly closely, honestly, I don't think that anyone would be able to see this. I created 2 notepads here.
I guess giving up on
and my other one
dream
is how Melee is just like mowing the lawn. And I wanted to go over this quickly because I really do think that these two things have a lot in common, and really just like the way that you're able to express yourself with the two things is, just fascinating. Let's see here, both require your hands to perform. You gotta think, right? Like the way that we communicate with the game, right, is with our hands and with our controller. Very similar to, right, I'm not mowing the lawn with my feet, right? I'm using my hands depends on the lawnmower, whether or not I'm using a riding lawnmower, if I'm using a push lawnmower, right? It all starts with the hands, which is, I think, something that people overlook. It's how you just communicate with the earth, with the lawnmower, how you communicate with the game because only very interesting. Number 2 here, different types of grass that you have to cut are like different matchups that require you to handle them in different ways. Yeah, you got to think about this, right? If you have some long grass that has some deep foliage and stuff like that, you're gonna have to kind of operate differently than you would if you're just like kind of trimming some grass that you already cut the week before or something like that, right? Kind of interesting. Very similar to how you'd have to handle the Marth matchup differently as Falco, as opposed to how you would kind of handle the Ganondorf matchup, right? These two things operate completely differently. Number 3, different shapes of the earth, like hills, valleys, and different slopes depending on how steep it is, or like different stages in Melee, right? The way that you're gonna have to handle these two things, right? You're operating through the lens of mowing the lawn, but you might have to deal with some hills and valleys. Just like maybe you're fighting Fox versus Falco, but FD is entirely different from how you play the matchup on Yoshi's Sword, right? Very interesting. Number 4 here, different lawnmowers are like different characters in Melee. Some are easier to use than others in tough situations. One thing I wanted to mention here as well, you can also think of different lawnmowers as different types of controllers, right? Not only do we have controllers with notches and the ultimate controllers versus the controllers that were made back in the day, the official Nintendo GameCube controllers, but you also have box-style controllers now, right? Riding lawnmowers, right? It's essentially digital inputs for mowing the lawn. Very interesting. Number 5, both are grassroots.
Can't believe I edited this guy. I'm gonna go outside and fucking do something for my life for once. Hi, dog.
Number 6 here, the technique in which you use to mow the lawn could allow you to shave off time from the job, similar to how you might have to formulate a game plan against an opponent. So if you've ever mowed the lawn before, you can go around the perimeter depending on the shape of the lawn that you're mowing, and then slowly